Hi, welcome to the NACPAC March meeting. I was forgetting what month it was. It's April, actually. April Fools.
I believed you.
So I'm the head chair of the North Andover. Oh my gosh, guys, today's the day. North Andover Special Education Parent Advisory Council. Sorry, today's been a long day, like for everyone else. So I just want to make sure everyone is here. So I have Sasha, vice chair. I have Rachel, and I have Megan. So we have everyone on the board on today. Okay. And then we also have Marcy Bacuzzi and Pamela Petrowski. And I'm excited, Victoria. I'm excited that you're here tonight. She is the bilingual parent liaison for the district. So I'm so excited that you're here tonight. All right. Okay. So I'm going to call this meeting to order if everyone's good. Okay. Okay. So we have February and March minutes that we have to approve. Did everyone looked at them? We're good.
Can we take a moment to look at them just to double check?
I cannot approve for March as I was not in attendance.
Okay.
Neither was I. That's what I was. I'm trying to think. I'm like, what was I?
It's actually just me and Sasha, and then Megan came. Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. I totally forgot about that. And I appreciate you holding the meeting. That was crazy times.
Oh, good. Marcy, that was the one and only meeting you've ever missed.
It is
you
true.
You realize that, right?
I do.
Yeah. And I made sure everyone knew that at the meeting too.
These are fine. They're fine.
Okay. All right. So I always do this part wrong, and Sasha always tells me that. So do I have?
I move that we approve the. Well, do you want to do February 1st?
Yeah, let's do February.
Right. So we need a motion for February, and you have to remind me of the date, please.
Oh, crap. Oh. Sorry, guys. I want to say February.
All right, we'll find out.
Oh, February 13th. I got it.
Okay. I move that we approve the meeting minutes from February. What did you just say?
13th.
13th.
Yep.
And March 7th or February 13th. We have to take them separately. And then we need a second.
Second.
And then Courtney, all those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
It's hard with a 4-person board. Okay, and then we would take the second one. So
yes,
I'll make a motion, which is I move that we approve the minutes from March 7th as printed in our packet.
All right. Do we have A's? Do we have yeses? Yes.
I'm
Do
abstaining.
you have a second, Meg?
Okay.
Yeah. Second.
Okay.
And then when we do that, just going forward, Meg, for minutes, you should just write who made the motion and who seconded the motion and then the vote. So in this case, I don't actually, there's 3 of us, right? So that would have voted on that for March because Rachel wasn't there.
Okay. So Lisa is not here tonight from North Andover Parent Resource Network. She hasn't given me anything to report, so I don't have anything. Understanding our difference didn't give me anything either. So let's go on to Marcy Bacuzzi update.
Okay. Thanks. I actually have an additional. I just came in. Lorene had sent me earlier today. And I think Emily Platt, who does the She is a contracted service
UDL
for us.
coordinator.
Yep, that works for SEAM Collaborative. That is like a UDL, which is a Universal Design for Learning kind of guru. All right. And she's, I mean, the things that she offers to our teachers in terms of her professional development during the school day and after is pretty amazing. She was our keynote speaker a couple of years ago. But she was contacted by, I can't remember if it's Reading or North Reading CPAC. Oh, do you know, Rachel? If she was talking, is it yours? I'm just making
Probably.
a connection. So she wants to know if other CPACs, she's going to reach out. I'm going to give her, Courtney, your name, because she wants to reach out to other CPAC presidents or chairs to see if other people want to join in having her
Oh, I
present.
got something from Reading. I didn't get anything from North Reading.
Oh, okay. So that's probably what it's probably
Yeah.
from the CPAC.
Yeah, I got something from Reading, and that's what I was gonna share with
Okay.
you guys too.
So
Yeah.
that's what that is. And I mean, for what it's worth, my opinion, she's awesome. Like
Yes.
she basically, the foundation of her ideas, and she's been at all of our schools, is that when you walk into the classroom, classroom material should be accessible to all students, regardless of ability or disability. And that's what her job is working with general education teachers for the most part. She obviously works with special education teachers too, to make everything in their classroom accessible to all students. So she's great. I mean, she really is great. And she lets teachers kind of pick their own path of areas of strength and weakness. So she has a lot to offer. So it's something, whether it's, I mean, it's a continued partnership. So obviously it's late in the year. I don't know if Reading's looking at something for this year or next year, but I think it's definitely something that parents would appreciate.
She's fantastic.
What's
She's
her name
so
again?
nice.
Emily Pat.
Pat, P-A-T.
P-A-T-T.
So I
Two
forwarded.
T's.
So I messaged her back because she sent out like a message to all CPACs in the area.
Okay.
So I did message her back, and I told her that it was my last year, school year as head chair, and that I would let my CPAC board that's continuing on know about it and everything.
Courtney,
Okay,
if
she's
you want to
inquiring
forward
for
that
next
one,
Oh, go ahead.
if you want to forward that one to me, I'll take that, Courtney. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'd love to speak
Awesome.
about Emily. I adore her. I have a good relationship with her.
Awesome. I'll send
She
it to you.
comes to North Reading. She trains a lot of our teachers as a UDL district, so she's
Awesome.
fantastic.
Okay.
Pretty much anybody that comes from SEAM is fantastic.
So in addition to that, just go in order where we spent the majority of the day today doing groupings for summer school for ESY. So we are very much ahead of schedule almost in getting things together. So our hope is that we have the majority of the assignments done by the end of this week, and some parents is in terms of the programs, the sub-separate programs, should be able to get some information this week. We're going to do in the same way. We're going to send parents of all, whether it's tutoring, whether it's programs, whether it's a combination, they're going to get a Google form. On the Google form, what we ask them is to tell us any days that they're not going to be in attendance, if there's vacations, because we plan accordingly around that, and to tell us whether or not they need transportation. So parents should be expecting those forms over the next couple of weeks. They won't necessarily know their specific tutor, some of them at that time, but that's the piece that we're actually ahead of, is grouping those students into their groups with their appropriate tutors. So the hope is that you hear from the tutors probably right after April vacation. So things are going pretty smoothly with that.
That is super early, Marcy.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
So let's hope it just stays on. We oftentimes get there and then things.
Well, the higher.
Don't jinx it.
Well, this time of year, it just like a day, like, you miss a day and it just flies. I mean, you guys all know, like the end of the year just flies. There's so many things that end up getting on the calendar. So, but we're in pretty good shape. I just publicly, in terms of the special education review, the bid process that we were going through has closed. It closed Friday at, I think it was 5. So I was able to review to get the names of the organizations that have applied for that. So in the next couple of weeks, I'll have more information about that, and definitely by the next meeting. I do get the sense that regardless of who we use, just so people know that it's not something that's going to be able to happen this year, that it will likely be something that it's happening at the start of next year, which is okay at this point of this year. Oops, I just lost my list. Oh, and one other thing. So, kind of just in conversation, this was not something that's definite, but I thought just we had a brief conversation. Some of the CPAC board members and I, we just kind of off the cuff were talking about needs, like what are we seeing as the greatest needs in towns and in districts. And so, an interesting it just so happened to be that Cheryl Barzak, the nurse leader, myself and Michelle O'Leary had some discussion. Cheryl had applied for a pretty significant grant that we are waiting to hear from. There's a big meeting about it tomorrow. But our hope in using that grant is to provide free counseling services for students in all grades over the summer. So we've done that for in groups, not individual counseling, but counseling groups. So we've done it on a very small level for some elementary schools, but we want to greatly expand that opportunity for students. And if we can get that grant, that's what we've earmarked it for, that in some transition services. So helping students transition from K1, 5, 6, 8, 9. So cross your fingers on that, because I hope to have some really good news on that, because it was a substantial amount of money. And so we're hoping that we can offer a substantial amount of opportunities for students.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. It's really exciting. And it's great that Cheryl, I mean, it's essentially it's a health grant. So, but she came to Michelle and I, and it was really a collaborative effort. But really, the grant is really, the approval on it is based on Cheryl's hard work. So it was great. And I think that's all I have, unless people have questions for me. Oh, I'm sorry. Tiered focus monitoring. So that is.
I was just going to say that because I have it on.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I had said something about it earlier. That is just, I just want to remind people that that's something that's happening. So my obligation in tiered focus monitoring, I'm in what's called Group B, is that I have to submit myself and Lorene and Cindy Parent, there's special education aspects and civil rights aspects that we have to upload and submit to the state by some date in early May, I believe it is. And so once all that information is submitted, it will be at the beginning of next year, and I'll give you guys a heads up on it. What will happen is that the state will then send a survey out to families. They'll get a list from the district of all families who receive special education services, and will contact families directly. It won't come out through me, because all the information goes back to them anonymously. So they'll give me a heads up when that happens, and I'll give you guys a heads up. So if you want to connect with families and let them know that's coming, because our Part A, albeit it was over COVID, they got very few surveys back from the district. Again, at a time where it's a lengthy survey. And that was at a time that parents were being overloaded with online information and online surveys too. So, but I'll keep you posted on when that's going to come out. I suspect it'll be September, October.
Okay. And Daniela is really excited about the Math Academy acceleration. She is over the moon.
That's awesome.
Really my kid. No, her friends are too, the ones that are going to. Yeah. All right. So now we are into liaison updates. So Lauren, the ABECC liaison, is running late. She's in another meeting. She's going to try to hop on. But we also have Victoria, who is the bilingual parent liaison for the district. So I love to hear from you, Victoria. Please tell us.
And not to steal thunder, but Victoria is one of we have two parent liaisons in the district. I mean, Victoria's, no, don't be sorry. I just wanted to make sure people know. And Victoria's amazing. So I will give Victoria the floor.
Yeah, so hi everyone. So yeah, we are two parent liaisons that were hired a year and a half ago to the district to help support our parents. So we are kind of the bridge of some parents that need communication either for language or for some parents that might need support with the system. That's what we do with the school, and we also help parents out in the community. Parents that might need some support with filling out forms that they don't know the language. We'll help them. We even call doctors to make appointments for them. I mean, you name it, anything that they might need if they don't have insurance and then they don't know how to go about it. So we'll go, we fill the application for them. We make appointments. They don't have gas. They need electric discount they can pay. We'll go look for anything that we can for them. We support any family in the district. I'm bilingual, which is great. I support also the Spanish and also, some Portuguese. My Portuñol that I speak, so it's a mix of English, the Portuguese and Spanish, but we get to communicate. And that's what we do, the overall of what we do, and we support any family that needs the support.
And I think just so you got in terms of CPAC, Victoria and Maria do amazing things and get things done. Like they're doers. They're not clocking in and clocking out. They really are kind of an amazing opportunity that has nothing to do with ethnic background, first language, or socioeconomic status. So I just want to make that very clear it be like a nice kind of, opportunity for CPAC in terms, people do reach out to you. They're helpful. And so like in the same way you guys are helpful, like, when parents are stuck and can't get to that next step, they are a resource, outside of a parent that has access to school personnel and again, and lots of people within the community too. So it's a bonus, it's a super bonus that Victoria and Maria are both bilingual, but it's not, I think people get stuck sometimes that's what they're for. And that is again, a wonderful bonus, but not their only, not the only thing that makes them great.
Yes. So,
Victoria, really quickly, do you feel like our families feel comfortable, particularly for IEP meetings, asking for translators if they need it? I find sometimes the difference between social language, right, versus academic language, and the IEP process is such a different set of language. And I feel like some parents, particularly coming into the ABCC, maybe they're new in the process. They may not even know that the language that they're going to encounter is so technical. Do you feel do we have parents asking much for translation help, or are they just kind of hoping to make it through? What are your thoughts there?
That's correct. Some parents might not know that there is some support for translation. So that's what I try to encourage all our liaisons and special education teachers to provide and offer that. Even though some parents might speak the language, they might say, yes, I speak Spanish, but it's not the same.
Not.
I mean, even myself, I had to learn the terminologies to know what it meant. So
Native English speakers, as parents, feel overwhelmed with the language of the IEP process.
And in every meeting I'm getting into to translate for parents. Just keep in mind, out of the United States, there are not many countries have a special education.
Right.
So besides this being new, for parents, it's a cultural thing also, for a parent to be told, your child qualifies for special education. I have parents start crying when they say, what do you mean? My son is not crazy. Mm-hmm. And this is all because of the culture. Mm-hmm. So when I see that, I kind of start the meeting. I said, listen, I got to explain what a special education is. In the culture, special education is for someone kind of that it's either, mentally retarded or physically.
Right.
Or something physically that's why they need a special education. They don't know that there's special education if your kid is not up into the level it should be. So they don't think that. They say, oh, special education, that means my child has problems. So I have parents start crying, and I got to stop the meeting and say, I got to explain why this child qualifies. And, so it's a whole process that we need to prepare our families. So when I know that we have new families coming in, I try to talk to them first and explain why this is happening. And I always tell all the people that are in the meeting, I say, please use easy language, your grammar, and think that you're speaking to a child. Like, try to have a conversation like if you were having with the child, because sometimes they don't know. And sometimes, even though I translate what they're saying, sometimes it doesn't make sense. So that's
Right.
why I have to put in words that they will understand.
And a lot of times,
And-
just like one of the things that Victoria said before is that, we're obligated in special education to provide a translator if they're like, if we look at as soon as we enter into their like home information, if their native language is, let's say, Spanish, we are obligated to have a translator there. But oftentimes parents aren't, because just like Victoria said, we speak English in my home. So I'm not gonna put something in there, and then you get to a meeting, you're like, oh, but I will say, and I think this is probably kudos to Victoria and Maria. The amount of the amount of funding, which is totally great, that we have spent towards translators has increased significantly, which means that the message Victoria and Maria are giving is going through. So we have relationships with Catholic Charities, a couple of different organizations that provide our translation services, and also deaf and hard of hearing. So, I mean, I'm sure it's directly related to the work that they've done.
Mhm.
It is
Correct. So as soon as we see a family that might not, they might say, oh yeah, their parents speaks English, but it's not that great, or they understand. And I said, doesn't matter. Sometimes, I like to be there because I don't have to help with translation, but I could help with other type of support, especially if they're new to the system, if they're new to the country. They don't know how to use technology. They don't know how to use Power School. They don't know how to do all this stuff. So I will help them download the app, tell them how to check the grades, tell them how to check attendance. So that's the other way that we can support as well.
Great.
Or in the meeting, it might come up, you know what? No, I don't have electricity, or I don't have internet. That's why my kid is not using the Chromebook or doing the homework, because there is no internet. And then I can support. I can say, listen, that's why I'm trying to tell people, include us as much as you can, regardless if they need or not the translation. And your families, you have a sense of who you're dealing with. If you think this family needs any type of support, if you know they're lacking because there's no clothing, or there's no food, or something might happen with rent, with all that, get in touch with us. So I try to tell people to involve us as much as they can, because we are not only interpreting, but we're also resources for other things. And we're using a lot of, and like Marcy said, we're using a lot of interpreters because we are catching everything. Oh, this parent is Portuguese. Yeah, and if I have a conversation, I call for the meeting time, and then I have a sense. Oh no, they need interpreting. So we are using a lot. That means we are engaging the families. We are providing the service to the family. The families are getting to know what's happening with their kids at school. So we are kind of engaging. That's the goal, trying to engage them as much as we can.
And that's a good point, because even with our interpretation services, like, their job is to show up at a meeting. They don't do, like we've asked in the past, like prior to having Victoria and Maria, we're like, will you give the family a call and reach out to them to swap? And like it's for the most part that, that's not what their role is. You have a few that we've established relationships with that may have done that. But so if that piece doesn't happen, that they're able to do in terms of that, like follow, initial sort of, it's safe, it's comfortable, and that follow up. I mean, just to have somebody show up there and translate is only a small part of what needs to get done.
Yeah, and also I think that the ratio, like the no-show, have improved, because we're able to call in a day before, to remind them. hey, there is an appointment. Don't forget. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. It's not in my, they don't get it into their calendar. They get an email saying there is a meeting, that's it, and then they forget. But like in my calendar, it will get in, plugged in into my calendar. So I know who's having the meeting. So I will call the parent the night or the day before and say, there is the meeting. Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. What time? Can I have the link? And I'll share the link. So they're ready for next day. Or, I could call them and say, tomorrow is your meeting. And they might say, oh, you know what? I'm not able to do it at that time. And I said, okay, what time is your break or what time is your lunch? So we can accommodate so you can be part of the meeting, to come to the meeting. So the no-show ratios, I think, have lowered because now we are there. Like, I mean, at least for the families that we support, we don't have everybody's schedule or meetings, but the ones that are under our wing, we kind of call them and tell them, you have your meeting. Remember tomorrow, here is your link if it's not in person. So that's also something that we tell families, your meeting is here, and they come.
So thank you, Victoria. This has been really helpful, I think, for all of us to hear from you. I have a question. So are you and your counterpart full-time employees?
Yes.
And then
Yep,
where are you located, in the central office, or you're located at specific schools?
right now we're at schools. We were based first at central office. This is a position that I had done before in Hebrew. So I have the experience. So at some point, we brought it up and said, listen, I think it's better if we go to the schools because that's what we are running every day, every time. So we are based in school. I'm based at the middle school. Maria is based at Atkinson Elementary. And we serve the whole district. So that's a matter. It's just that we are based in the school, which is where we're needed the most sometimes. And that's how we did it.
Okay.
And
So I know, Marcy, you mentioned when we started a bit that this position really anyone is, apparently is accessible to anyone. It does appear to be heavily supportive of parents where English is a second language, which I think is great and much needed. Is there other things just in your day-to-day, Victoria, that you find specifically with special education that we haven't talked about? Besides, helping coordinate for meetings, making sure there's appropriate translation services if needed, if they said no when it was, asked or whatever. Is there other things that maybe we wouldn't think about because we're not on the ground?
Mhm. Something that I've always wanted to do or create or to be involved is with, like I mentioned before, a lot of families that are not from the United States, they don't know about special education. So I would like to do something like when they are eligible, like the student is eligible for special education, to give them a training, to give them a class and tell them what this is about and what you have to do every year. We have a lot of IEPs coming back. They don't check on the box, or they don't know what to sign. I know the ETLs do a great job highlighting everything, but some parents, they don't know, and they just put a signature. The ETLs put the Mhm.
There's also the interesting cultural component of like Maria and I have talked about this before. I mean, Victoria and I have talked about this before, or maybe it was Maria, about there's just a general trust. Like if a teacher is telling you something at the table that, in many cultures, the parents are just going to, which is, I hope that that's great, but you want to be able to and I think that's a great idea, Victoria. But I think probably the pieces maybe to get them before the eligibility aspect of it. So when we send consent out to test something like that, maybe there's, just like we send for initial eligibilities, we send a flyer for CPAC, and maybe we send a flyer about parent liaisons too. So if they have questions, because it is sort of, you guys would tandem around the same thing. So if they have questions, and then maybe you run a monthly group or something like that, or a group a couple times a year about that. And I I'd be happy to help, do it with you or partner with you in some sense
Sure.
with that.
I think that's a great idea.
Sure.
That's something I would love to do with
I
you,
had
Victoria.
parents showing up to meetings, and you know what's and I would ask, you know what's an IEP, and they're like, no, what's an IEP? Well, something that you sign. "Oh, well, no, the teacher asked me to sign, and I sign it. Or I'm here in the meeting. This is a special education meeting. Oh, I thought I was coming to the teachers meeting. Like they don't see all the things. They like I said, sometimes we explain things, but they're just worried like, what's wrong with my child? How are you going to help? That's all.
And I think there's
Go ahead.
a respect thing, like you were saying, Marcy. I find when interacting with a lot of other cultures, be it Chinese or the Asian cultures, Hispanic cultures, like you said, they trust the teacher and just respectfully enforce. Like the teacher says, this is not going well, I'm going to sign this, but they're wary and they're afraid to admit they're wary and they're not fully understanding what they're signing. They just know that they need to do what the teacher is asking them to do. And therefore, I find there's a lack of ability to question anything because they don't want to seem disrespectful, but it's also they want to be respectful of the whole process, but they're actually very scared. So I think that, I would love to do a parent informational class, soup to nuts, on the IEP process and the pre-referral process. And also, what if a parent at home is concerned? Do they know the right person to contact? And do they even know how to ask the right questions if they're concerned their child has a disability or things are not going well at home? Yeah, I would love to support that.
Yeah, I mean, the ETLs are great, and everybody there tries to support. And parents are very thankful, grateful for what they do. It's just that I think they should know more to be able to ask, like you said.
Megan,
Awesome.
did you get to ask your?
Yeah, I had just have, hi Victoria. I think that this is such an amazing resource, and I just want to be able to inform more people about it. And I had somebody recently, I think Maria must have reached out to them at the Atkinson School, and they thought that we were all worked together, which we do all work together. I just didn't know about the parent liaisons as much. And it led me to think about where in the system is a family flagged that you or Maria would reach out to them? Because this family, like, she was like, oh, I have no idea why they reached out to me. Can you tell me more about it? So I'm just interested, who tells, like, where does the direction come from? How does that get started?
That we reach out families?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
it could be anybody, I can speak for myself.
Yeah.
I've talked to Maria. The nurses have talked to Maria. I'm Victoria. I've talked to Victoria. The nurses reached out to Victoria. The principals have reached out to Victoria. I'm sure Victoria teachers have reached out to you directly. So there is, I don't
So there's
think
someone along the lines, like the administration. Okay. So they were under the impression that there was like a list of people that like checked off speaking Spanish, and they just were going through. And I was like, that didn't sound very efficient to me. So I didn't think that that's what was happening, but
so normally we reach out to family if we're asked to. Like a teacher would tell us, we haven't heard from this family, let's say. We've been
Gotcha. Okay.
emailing them, we've been calling, and we haven't heard. So we are a resource. So we'll get into that, and just, it could be any family. It could be any
Right.
family.
Okay.
That we can get in touch with this family. Can you try to reach out? And that's what we do. Or a nurse will tell us, or the teachers directly, or anybody, like Marcy said. Like
That's great.
maybe at the beginning when we were settling and to let people know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Start spreading
we
the
were
word.
reaching out, yeah, and telling them, we're here for anything. But after that, things got busier.
Yeah.
So, keeps getting busy, and people still get to know us now.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. They are busy. I mean, I know it's, it's good and bad. Like, that there's
a lot of
obviously a
need.
need for a resource because they
Yeah.
are busy, very busy.
Yeah.
Correct. And like I said, we help in many ways. There is a child who's sick. Then if the mom doesn't speak the language, then we get called and we're in the middle of it. you know, if they need a doctors and they don't speak the language, they need to be seen, they need to call the office. A parent will call me and say, listen, I have been waiting for a referral. My son is it's sick. I don't know what to do. So, but I can speak the language, and then, you know, hands-on, and then we call and say, listen, this parent is waiting. What's going on with the referral? So we do everything that we try to support the family. I think the goal is to be able to support the family in a way that the child comes to school ready to learn.
That's
So
great.
that's our mission, you know, just for them to be ready to learn. And
Yeah.
that's what we try to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad to know more about what you guys are doing. So thank you for your work.
No,
thank
Victoria,
you.
I'm so happy you came tonight. I'm so excited.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I reached out because, you know, like I said to you, Courtney, parents are thinking about sports for special education
Yep.
students. So then, you know, that's why I said, let me reach out and see what's going on and how
Yeah.
can we support the families.
Well, I have a bunch of things like because we get sorry, my daughter came in. Easy go. So sorry. All right. So I'm sorry, guys. I have to deal with her for a second. Sorry. I love you, Izzy, but gosh.
Pam, do you have a question?
Yeah, can you hear me? Because I think my Wi-Fi is not great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if we know, Marcy, if you happen to know how many students are identified needing dual services as multilingual and special education.
How
I'm just
many?
curious. Yeah, and you don't
I
have to tell me now. You can tell me
Yeah.
later if you don't know.
No, I actually just had pulled a number for, no, I don't know a specific. I had just pulled a couple of subset groups, but I don't have an exact
Yep.
number.
Yeah, I just as this conversation was evolving, I was just wondering. So sorry, just a little question that popped up. Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. Let's see. So Victoria, I do have a list of things we get from the Federation of things going on for resources and for summer programs going on that I can forward to you
Sure.
that we get from Leslie. Yeah. So.
Sure.
Okay.
And Marcy, we need support for the surveys, and we have done it before, like translating them. You know.
Yeah. Thank you.
just
Yep.
reach out.
Okay. Thank you, Victoria.
Welcome.
Thank you, Victoria. Much appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So in March, we had the Q&A with school committee community chat with the candidates, and it went really good. We had, Rachel, how many questions did we have? Around.
Well, we had a total of 16 that they've either answered verbally or filled out. And I think we were able to do 7 or 8. We're budgeting time for 5 or 6. Everybody was pretty succinct and prepared in their answers. So we were able to throw in a few extra that I think went really well.
Yeah, I got some emails from families saying they watched it online and they really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
I was saying
and we
before.
got more questions than we have in like the previous years. So it was really good. So because usually we just get like 7 or 5 or around 10, and this year we got more than that. So but it
I
went
think
really
people
good.
really liked the Google form. Google form is just so easy. It's so easy, and you can be anonymous, and it's just such an easy way to submit. And I was able to, we got a few similar ones. I was able to kind of consolidate them or focus them. But it was nice. We had a special ed lens, but then we were able to kind of open it up a bit too.
Yes. No, it went really good. Oh, cat.
I think one thing Marcy and I had talked about is we were really impressed that, nobody pretended to know or be an expert, right, in special education. And it was more, they all disclosed it. If we didn't know, we went to research it. And
I thought their
I think
answers were
that
great. Yeah.
it was so enlightening.
And I don't know whose job that was. Was that you, Meg, to have transcript that all? Oh, that was it was good to be able. I mean, obviously I wasn't there, and
No, they submitted them. They submitted them.
Yeah,
right.
I asked them to give me their answers because I truly feel that
no, that was super. It
people
was
don't
helpful.
have time
Yeah, no, it was
sometimes
great.
to look on, so at least this way they can just look at the document and they can see exactly, like when Pamela ran, we did the same thing,
Yep.
Joe, and
All three of them
it's
said
just
they,
really good.
Yeah, I
and all
thought
three of them said they started researching things that they otherwise wouldn't have,
right,
which was
right.
really nice.
It
I
was
guess
nice
in
because it
part
like
of the
made
point.
you like they really, took the time
Mhm.
to, because we gave them around 4 or 5 days to, really look into the questions that we gave them. So it was really good. And then we have the Autism 101 workshop coming up April 11th. And that's with Asperger Autism Network. And
And is that just North Andover, or is that a bunch of places?
I shared it with so a lot of CPACs, because it makes more sense. We share it with all the districts just because it's
No, I
more,
think it's great. Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. That's what I would thought that it was, but that's good. So the more questions you get, the better, the more information you're gonna get.
exactly. So, but and then there'll be a Autism 102, a part 2 one. So that will be good too. And that's April 23rd. I got to send that flyer out to everyone again. Because they only sent out the April, the first one, the April 11th one, because I wanted to make sure people knew about that date first. So that would be good. And then let's see. And then the NA Star Award. I gotta get out the flyer. A lot going on over here, but I will get it out. So that we can get it to Marcy. I'll send it to you by Friday, okay?
A new one, or was someone gonna just doctor up the old one?
I have the old one that I was just gonna fix
Okay.
up.
Yeah, that's fine. That one was good.
Because it's the same, thing. So and then Rachel, I'm gonna change the date for our meeting with the subcommittee. I'm gonna give out 2 dates to see, what they can do, okay?
Sounds good.
And I'll get that going.
Does that,
And
sorry, Courtney, does that
Yeah.
include that flyer and that email that will go out? Does that include a link to a Google document for people to submit that?
Yep.
Okay, just so people who are watching know, so that you'll be able to see it and then you submit it.
yes.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, there'll be a
If
Google
you-
form
if
too.
you
It's really
don't-
just click. Yep.
And if you don't have it, just so I think Victoria, you had done, Victoria translated the flyer the flyer last year for us. So I have the
Oh,
translated version of it already.
Okay.
And if you need
Awesome.
to update it, she can update it.
Okay.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you want me to forward that to you then, Victoria?
Sure,
look
if
at
you can share it as a form that I could edit,
Okay.
that'd be great. So I could
Awesome.
do one below the other one, and you can double print or whatever you want to do.
Okay.
It's easier, much easier.
Okay. I'll get on that then. Thank you.
And also we can, because it'll take you to a Google link. Is that what you're saying, Courtney, for submission of nominees?
Yes.
The Google link, that's easy to translate too. So it's
Mhm.
2 different ways, probably, Victoria. They can either
Mhm.
write their responses in Spanish, and then I can easily just take, because all of those buttons now have a Google Translate built in. We could probably do it that way.
It's mostly names, so it should be,
I mean, right? There's no, is there like an
You have to write
explanation or just?
Do we have to write why?
a little. I mean, they don't. I think they
So-
can.
So yeah, we give like a they have room to write, like why they want to nominate this person. And the thing that families don't know though is that if you write one sentence and just say, our teacher is so good to our son, that's all we have to go on because we don't know all the teachers. So if you nominate someone, you should go into detail so that we know everything, why this person's so great.
So
The more detail, the better.
So perhaps it makes sense so we can be more inclusive that we
Mhm.
note that we accept answers that are written in Spanish or whatever or other language. I don't know, Rachel, is it any language?
Google
that
Translate.
Yeah, I would
translate?
assume
Google
that though,
Translate.
since
Yeah.
is Victoria, I would assume that because when we sent out the Google link, it was in Spanish too. Well, I mean, you know what I mean. The when Marcy gave it to you last time.
The survey.
So I would assume that they would already know that, but I understand what you're saying, Sasha.
It's that not that we would obviously we'd send it out, but that they could actually write it and submit it in their native language, and then we on our own end could translate if that encourages people to
like
write
that.
because it's
To
now in
write.
their native language,
I
and
like
then they don't have to feel like, you know, oh, I'm not going to do it. English, you know, is not my native language. It's harder for me. If they can write in their native language, then they're more apt to submit, and maybe we have some more inclusive submissions.
I like it.
And the new feature in Google Drive is awesome. It's just Google Translate. It just overlays the doc and it's perfect. Yeah.
So maybe just in the email we could note that, or wherever, however you guys want to do it. I know I'm not part of that, so with that.
I'll make sure we do
If
that.
you want,
Would it make more sense to do its own Danielle, go. Would it make more sense to do a Google form for like what makes more sense? My 10-year-old getting everyone in this room. Rachel, you're on silent on.
Sorry, the one link is fine because again, it translates so easily. I can
Okay.
just lift it and
Alright.
translate it. No big deal. I'd prefer just one. One link is easier to manage and then it all just filters in. No
Okay.
problem.
All right. Okay. Well, this is perfect. Yay. Okay. So now I'm on to the head share report. So this month is Autism Awareness Month, and I was so excited to see the North Andover firefighters. They have they put a profile picture, and it was just so pretty. And also the police department are wearing blue badges for autism awareness, which I thought was awesome. So that was I liked that.
I have, let me find it. I have patches for you guys. I have police patches for my husband brought them home. I'll send them to you guys they're in the office. He sent me a picture, but now I can't find it. But I'll
Is he
send
a police officer in North Andover?
no, in Beverly, but
Oh,
they
but
have,
they're blue too.
yeah, they got patches and I got 5 of them for the
That's
CPAC.
so nice.
Yeah.
Aw,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. I think it's a great time for the workshops and for us to be pushing out and promoting the workshops too. I think in the
Yes.
next few days, if we can really push those, just because they're such a good opportunity.
I
and,
agree.
and also lots and lots of the like particularly around the communication apps are 50% off during Autism Awareness Month. So there's a bunch of links that I could share with you guys too, like you know, for not necessarily like the AAC ones that we get for families because they're super complicated, but if like there's, I'm sure it expands into other opportunities for the apps too. So 50% off is pretty significant with some of them. So maybe remind parents of that too. And I can send you some links.
We can definitely blast that out on Facebook.
Okay. And coming soon is I'm almost gone. 2 more meetings and then I'm gonna be gone. No more head share. But I'm excited for you guys for the new CPAC board, and I think it's gonna be really great year next year. So I'm excited for you guys next school year. So which means that, you know, we still get to talk about it, of course, but you know, so in the coming days, in the coming month, we'll be thinking about like elections and, you know, what seats we want to have. Like, we definitely want secretary, head chair, vice chair. Some CPACs actually don't have that, and they actually collaborate. They don't have like a head chair, vice chair. They actually do it all together, and they alternate who heads the meetings. I know a few CPACs that do that. So those are things that you guys could think about, you know, looking at other people's, how they do it, you know. I can get you in contact with those CPACs that I know that do that. Andover used to do it, but I don't think they do that anymore. Now they're back to chair and head chair. I mean, vice chair. But a couple of years ago, they did do it that way. I can't remember if Reading does that. I know someone does it. I know the CPACs that do it, so I'll reach out to them, and so you guys can talk to them. Okay.
So we'll have another election in May.
So you should have nominate, like, first you guys need to decide like how you want to do it. Like, do you want communications? Do you want, you
So
know,
everything,
media? I mean, there's a lot of people do different ways. Like, I changed it to how it was better for with COVID and everything. We changed it. We altered it a little. So it's all in what you guys see it to be.
So then,
But other so what Maureen, when she was the head chair for North Andover, what they did was they sent out an email and they put who wanted to be chair, and the CPAC members. They did it through like a Google form, I want to say, and then they just clicked yes. They nominate so and so, and you know, and if they wanted to you know, be part of the nominations, then they put their name in too. It all depends how you guys want to do it. I know a lot of CPACs do it very differently. I had it different than you guys just because it was during COVID and everything.
so is your last meeting as head chair the June meeting?
Yep.
Okay, so then whatever we decide in May, then it will be for.
So you should have it was different for when I did it, when you guys were, you know, nominated or elected in what was it, September? No, October meeting we
October.
had. Yeah, so it was different because we, you know, usually it should be in May that you find out who wants to, you know, become, if someone wants to go against Sasha, say, okay, or if someone wants to maybe be a secretary or something, that's when they put their name in. You would send out an email or promote it, who wants to, you know, who would like to be part of the CPAC board. And then in June, you would have your election.
Okay.
And then CPAC members should be at the meeting. If not, what Maureen and Kristen used to do is they would send out a Google form. And they would just, you know, click yes, or if they weren't being, no one was running against them.
so technically though, Courtney, right? So we kind of talked about this right before a bit. We should be following the bylaws, even if we haven't done whatever, you know, and if we're going to rewrite them, we can do that, but we should be,
You
if
can
we-
do whatever you want because I'm out. So, so you guys do what you want to do, Sasha. I don't.
no,
has
I don't
nothing
mean
to
it
do
like
with
that. I
me.
just mean so everyone knows, because I don't want people
Yeah.
to think that we're going to
Yeah.
have an election on June 1st or something, and that be a set. I guess we'd have to kind of figure that all out, and especially as we kind of you're on mute. Sorry, we can't hear. Courtney, you're on mute. You've been on mute. Sorry, we can't hear you.
I've been on mute this whole time. That's funny. So yeah, no, I don't.
So I think what all my intention in bringing that up is just so that we can properly, we can probably review them as a board and then plan, because we especially wouldn't want to have elections for positions that didn't exist in the bylaws, and if we chose to rewrite the bylaws, because those have been needing to be reviewed. And also we want to make sure we get updated and appropriate copies to Marcy for tiered focus monitoring, then we would do that. And then we would have the elections based off of those updated bylaws in accordance with those bylaws, and make sure we're following that appropriately. That was my only intent in just bringing that up. So whatever that looks like, just so that everyone knows, especially we would love for more participation and more people obviously to be part of it. And I think one of our big goals obviously for Courtney for years was to have CPAC awareness. And so the more the merrier. We would want all that kind of participation.
Yep.
Do CPACs usually have meetings over the summer? Or do they just
So they have a
end
CPAC summer, when that's why it's good to have already know who you're going to be on your board, because then what I would do with Maureen, and when Vanessa and Elizabeth were on my board, we met in the summertime and we try to plan what we wanted to do and everything in the summer. So that's why it is beneficial to do that. But it's up to you guys.
One of the things that I believe was done in the past is that, and it's probably part of the things you guys are talking about is, and I think it might be part in the bylaws somewhere, is that does it make sense to, I don't know if the word, like it's sort of somewhat like an election, like you have to form like an election committee of some sorts. I don't know if committee is the right word, but right, what are you electing? You have to decide what you're electing for, I guess, is the first order of business. And to Sasha's point, and I bet if we looked at it, I don't know in the bylaws, because it definitely, and that's why I said this year, like it definitely doesn't reflect this year. It might not even, no, you're right though. We did it over COVID. So it reflects like
It reflects
probably
COVID,
what was going on
yeah.
in 2020. So
Yeah.
however, you know what I mean? Again, it's, I think you guys have it pretty straight. It's president, vice president, secretary, and start there. And then I'm sure you can always expand from beyond that in communications, like however you want to, or whatever positions you want to make part of those.
You remember, we reinvented Rachel's position.
Right, exactly.
Like when we looked at like different,
and that can fall under something else, you know what I mean? You can fall under the
I might want to change it to something that, like a lot of CPACs gear it to what is more benefit, like what, so. But Marcy, my favorite part, Special Olympics.
Yeah. So we've changed. There was a proposed date. Now there's two new proposed dates of June 8th or 9th. They are, you guys, if you remember, Special Olympics is a collaboration between Andover and North Andover. Those dates are, and I had let Kara Higgins, who organizes for us, Special Olympics of Massachusetts has changed the way they have done things in an unfortunate financial need. So they're not as involved, although they really weren't last year. They didn't come to our date, which they didn't have any representative from SOMA at our dates. But Kara Higgins, who's took the realm from Kathy Keith, does an amazing job. But it's located in Andover this year. So it almost was easier, in the sense of having a little control over things and being in the know. We won't have as much to do with the actual organizational aspect of it. But Kara does an amazing job. She's a wonderful communicator. So, and again, those dates worked for as far as for North Andover. It looks like from what I can see in the email chain that we're waiting for a confirmation from Andover about if both of those dates work from them, because they'll just use one for a date. I assume it'll be like the 8th for the date and the 9th for the rain date or something like that. But I will let you know as soon as I hear back.
Yeah, let me know, because I'll definitely I like going to it. So
yep, they look at those volunteers. The Best Buddies program at the high school, they were like rock stars. They were amazing. In Kara, just a little plug for us, likes to have it in North Andover because the volunteer, the way the kids get involved with what's going on is pretty great. So it was a really, really nice event.
And I just got where Daniela's going to be able to volunteer, so she's excited.
Awesome. And you guys know then students who participate in Special Olympics are students who typically have adaptive physical some sort of adaptive physical education process with them. So, they don't necessarily have to have APE on their IEPs, but they would require some level of adaptive, equipment or needs during a typical gym class.
So so for Special Olympics, Sasha, like usually so last year I reached out to Andover SEPAC, and last year they didn't go last year, but because something came up, and understanding our difference didn't come last year, but I'm hoping this year they will. I know Andover SEPAC will be there this year, of course. So we'll I'll CC you on the email, and we'll see what we can do to help the Andover CPAC, see what they need and everything. Usually like passing out waters, or like we just see what we can do to help. Yeah, Rachel.
Just what were those dates again?
8th and 9th of June.
I'm hoping it's June 9th, because June 8th, I think, is Sergeant's Kimball Farms for 5th graders.
Oh, no.
Ah!
Yeah, there's everyone had a little bit of a conflict. I mean, it's a tough time of year, but
It's all good. It's
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite things. Last year I had so much fun.
it was fun.
We had the kindergartners, they painted all these beautiful signs, some of the classes, and we put it all in the fence in the high school so that the kids could see it. And they liked that. It was nice. But all right. So that's it. Does anyone have any public comment? Okay. And that's it then. That's the end of our meeting. So I'm gonna,
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I was just about to do that, but okay. Okay. All
Second.
right. All right. So everyone have a nice night.